Hey, welcome to 20 Minutes Self-Development with me, your host, Tam Dillon. 20 Minutes Self-Development, the podcast that's all about focused, effective self-development, one tool at a time. In each episode, I'll be introducing you to a specific practice or technique, and I'll be diving into why it matters, how it works, and how you can integrate it seamlessly into your daily life. In just 20 minutes, we'll get to the heart of personal growth and insights that make meaningful change feel both accessible and achievable. Let's get into today's episode. Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of 20 Minute Self-Development. So today we're going to be diving into a topic that sits at the heart of Buddhist philosophy, and it's one that's incredibly relevant to our lives, and it's the philosophy of anicca, or the truth of impermanence. And it's a philosophy that I actually draw on quite regularly in the situations that certainly call for utilizing this philosophy as a tool. But it's definitely one that I pull on quite frequently because it just comes in so handy. And as we go through the episode, you'll definitely get a good feel for why that is. So we're going to be exploring how understanding impermanence and practicing non-attachment can lead to emotional resilience. I think that's probably one of the biggest benefits for myself personally that I've gotten out of the practice of following the truth of impermanence and practicing non-attachment. Now, I know the word impermanence can sound a little bit heavy, but really it's about embracing life as it is. Always changing, always in motion. Like life is transient. Nothing is going to change that. So we're going to break down what impermanence means in daily life, why non-attachment isn't about being cold or indifferent, and how this practice can lead to a far deeper sense of peace and emotional strength. And of course, I'll be sharing some practical ways you can start working with these concepts today. So let's get into it. So what is anicca? What is the practice of following the truth of impermanence? So impermanence, or anicca, as it's called in Buddhist philosophy, it's the understanding that everything is in a constant state of flux. It's natural law, from the smallest cellular changes in our bodies to huge grand cycles of nature. Everything is constantly shifting. You walk out your door and you're constantly seeing changes. The seasons, the rotation of the earth, day and night, like super simple examples. The snake shedding its skin, you shedding your skin. So everything is constantly shifting and changing and transitioning from one thing to another. But here's the catch. As human beings, we tend to resist this change. Like we resist this natural process, this natural flow of life. We're all just like, "Woo, we don't want to do that." Like no, let's push back against the cycles. We crave stability. We love our predictability and a sense of control. I have a control freak. I was joking with a friend the other day. I have a control freak that lives next door to my imposter. Like I acknowledge the things that take up residence in my mind. And that that the control freak is there and pops up every now and then. It's like, oh, we gotta hold on to these things. We gotta hold on to these things and try and gain control. And it's usually in situations where it's like, man, that's not practical. So we want the good moments to last forever, like we do. We share the really good moment with a friend or a partner, or we hear a piece of music for the first time and it like hits the soul just in such a profound way. We want that moment to last, so we clutch onto it and we cling to it. And we want the difficult ones to disappear instantly. So we're asking for two extremes. And if you go back and listen to my episode last week where I discussed the middle way, we don't want to do the extremes. We want to find some way, that middle balance, where it's not, let's avoid all the difficult stuff and let's move through that quickly, but let's cling to, all these wonderful things in the hopes that we can hold on to it forever. So think about the last time you were truly and authentically happy. Maybe you're on holiday, maybe you were completely relaxed and present. How long did it take before you started to worry about the end of that experience. How many times have you been in the company of really amazing people, and you're kind of starting to look at your watch, and you're like, oh, this is going to come to an end, and that really sucks. We try and hold on to that moment for as long as possible. So this is our attachment at play. This is what attachment looks like in very simple terms, that not wanting the holiday to end, not wanting that shared moment with friends to end. Our desire to hold on to the good and push away the uncomfortable overtakes life far too often. we gotta learn to reel that back in just a little bit. This resistance to impermanence is a major source of our suffering. We cling to people, we cling to experiences, even ideas, wanting them to stay the same. But life keeps moving. And when reality doesn't match our expectations, we feel pain, we feel frustration, we'll feel loss. When we understand that impermanence, or by understanding impermanence, we can learn to rather flow with life, rather than fighting against it. It's not about being passive or indifferent, and just being like, well, life must just do its thing, and let it just steamroll over me. It's about accepting that change is the only constant. Like, if you want any stability in life, change is the only stability you can possibly find. That change is the only constant. Non-attachment versus detachment. So let's clear up a common misconception. Non-attachment is not the same as detachment. And I'm not talking about detachment from a deeper philosophical perspective of detachment. I'm looking in yogic philosophy. I'm looking at detachment in sort of more of a surface level of detachment. Non-attachment is about fully engaging with life without becoming dependent on a specific outcome. You are literally grooving along in that flow space, allowing life to just unravel and unfold as it goes, and it flows smoothly, and it flows correctly. There's alignment, there's balance, there's nothing that really pops up where it's like, oh, I don't want to flow into that. There's a far more natural flow to it. It's about experiencing joy without holding on to it, without facing discomfort, without letting it define us. I'll say that again. It's about experiencing joy without needing to hold on to it, and facing discomfort without letting it define us. So you may be going through a moment of discomfort right now. Maybe life is really hard. Maybe you're going through some struggles. Maybe you've got some upheavals. It's not permanent. You can, right there, you can probably see like, oh, that's where the practice of impermanence probably comes in pretty handy. Yes, it does. And for me personally, in moments like that, that is where it comes in handy. Because that just having that understanding that I can come back to of like, okay, life really sucks right now, but you know what, it's okay because it's not permanent. I'm not stuck like this. I'm not stuck in this, cycle. I'm not stuck in the suffering. It's going to come to a close. But so too, when I'm experiencing those moments of joy, knowing like, hey, this is going to come to an end at some stage, and knowing that that is okay, because if that moment doesn't come to an end, perhaps you rob yourself of moments that may be far more deeper or more profound. If we sat in that single moment for all of eternity, give yourself 2 days, and I'm sure you will probably bored as heck, and you're going to be like, okay, let's do something else now. So eventually your joy will become suffering. And that's what happens when we cling to things that bring us external based joy, like externalizing our joy onto relationships and people and jobs and material possessions. When we say like, oh, you make me happy, you bring me joy. Firstly, you're putting that responsibility on someone else. Like, don't do that. Put that responsibility on yourself and find the happiness within yourself. Because when you're externalizing, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. You're setting yourself up for expectations not being met. So you're expecting the world to constantly respond in a certain way to you. It's not going to happen. Unrealistic expectations. On the other hand, so let's look at detachment. Detachment is more of an emotional disconnect. So non-attachment is allowing life to ebb and flow and do its thing, and we move naturally through the ups and downs through life, knowing that all of this is just transient. It's all just coming and going, and it's okay. It's as it's meant to be. With detachment, it's an emotional disconnection. Sometimes it's an intentional emotional disconnection, and sometimes it's unintentional. Sometimes it's almost an unconscious, like you're not fully consciously aware that you are emotionally detaching. But essentially what it is, it's avoiding feelings and experiences altogether. That's invariably the moments where you're just like, yo, like none of this. I wanted nothing to do with anything that's going on right now. And you just completely detach from everything. That's the difference between non-attachment and detachment. It's a defense mechanism, and it can lead to numbness and isolation. Non-attachment, however, will lead to balance, stability, and ease. So we can see the difference between the two words there. Non-attachment is about presence. It's about being here in the here and the now, fully experiencing life as it is without needing it to be a specific way. So not sitting there and saying, oh, like I really would like life to be like this, that, and the next thing. Like, sure, manifest things for yourself, like have goals, have aspirations and things to work towards and things to bring into your life. Otherwise, it would be boring and mundane. But don't force it. Don't force the how of the manifestation. You want to manifest something for yourself, don't force the how on how it's going to happen. Don't worry about the how. Just be open to that thing coming to you. So clearing away those expectations. It's about caring deeply, but letting go of that need of control. So, not having to, push life in this direction, like, oh, I really need to do this. I really need to move here. I really need to have this job. I have to get that promotion. And we kind of like, we push and we push and we push. And if we look at that from a physical perspective, like if we're in a yoga pose, and we're like, oh, I need to get deeper into that pose, and you push and you push and you push, like you're going to hurt yourself. And it's the same thing in life. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to cause suffering. So let's have a look at a quick example. If you love someone, non-attachment means being present, supportive, but you're not trying to control their choices or your shared experiences. You allow natural flow and cohesion to happen in your relationship. This allows love to be freeing rather than possessive. When you have expectations, you set yourself up for disappointments, and you set the relationship standard of you must meet me here. This is where you must be here. This is what I'm telling you must be, and we're kind of like forcing the partner to fit into our mold. Like, that's not okay. Like, let's not do that. So we want to come from that perspective of a free-based love. We don't want to cling to our partner and be possessive. And this practice right here helps to build emotional resilience, because it teaches us to engage life without being destroyed by changes, because change is going to happen. Change is the only consistent that we have in life. And when we can bring ourselves back to that truth of this is temporary, this is going to change. I may not know how it's going to change or what that change may look like. I may not even know when that change may come, but the change is going to be there. So I'm going to allow this to just flow as it needs to, without clinging to it, clutching to it, or trying to control it. So it's not about not caring. It's about caring without clinging. There really is a huge difference there. So how do we apply this in our daily lives? How do we practice non-attachment without becoming cold or detached? Observe impermanence. So notice impermanence in the day-to-day happenings of your life. Notice it in the small things. Perhaps you're coming into fall and the leaves are going to start changing. So you notice that shift in nature. Maybe you come across a dead lizard and you're like, okay, well, that little guy, like, there's the truth of impermanence right there. And like, yes, that is the reality of life. You're going to come across the dead lizards. You're going to see the dead leaves on the tree. But you're also going to come across the living lizard. You're going to come across the new leaves sprouting on the tree. So you get to bear witness to the balance of life when you're living in that space. So practice noticing the small transient changes in life. Notice the fluctuations. Notice the changes in temperature. Notice maybe you have a pet and notice when they're shedding and when they're not shedding. Like, notice the small changes. And it really does. It opens you up to the bigger changes, and it helps you navigate those bigger changes with a whole lot more ease. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is always great to bring into practices. Combining mindfulness with practicing different philosophies and different theories. Practice observing your thoughts and your emotions without identifying them. So we've discussed this practice in previous episodes, and what it does is it helps to create like an internal space to really understand what non-attachment looks like. Because if we can practice non-attachment with the self, practicing non-attachment with others and external things becomes a whole lot simpler. It becomes almost more accessible, if you will. So let's chat a bit about building emotional resilience. When we're practicing non-attachment and we're embracing the truth of impermanence, you're naturally going to build emotional resilience, and this is how you're going to be doing it. Firstly, you're going to reduce your anxiety. Like, yes, you're going to reduce your anxiety. This practice has helped reduce my anxiety countless times. Like, brought me back to like ground zero, like level basis. Okay, I'm not stuck here. This is impermanent. I don't have to cling to this. Let's not hold on to this. When you're not clinging to specific outcomes, you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, and this naturally reduces your anxiety. Greater adaptability. Accepting impermanence makes you more flexible and way more open to change. So you look at change as an adventure, something exciting, something new, instead of, like, what is that? And, what could come with that? And that's big and that's scary. You stop seeing change as a threat, and you start to see it rather as a golden opportunity. When you're not preoccupied with keeping good experiences or avoiding the bad ones, and you're far more present and you're in that space of flow, you can actually enjoy the moment without worrying about what comes next. Like, you can literally just be there. Like that's all, and that really is all you need to do in life, is just be there. Because what else do you actually have to do but just be there? So this is how you build a mind that bends without breaking. Emotional resilience, truly at its finest. Like I say, these are two of my, especially with like the big stuff where I'm like, oh, this is big, this is heavy, this is hard. I've got a lot of anxiety. Maybe I'm struggling with depression, and I'm like, you know what? It's temporary. Take a deep breath, center myself, and I can move through it. taking it a day at a time. That practice really has just helped me so much. So I hope that today's episode has offered you some valuable insights into the practices of impermanence and non-attachment. These aren't just philosophical ideas, they're practical tools that really can bring you so much more ease and peace into your daily life. And like I'm coming from lived experience with these. Next week, I'm going to be continuing my journey. I've been chatting quite a bit about Buddhist philosophy lately, and I'm going to be exploring the concept of anatta, or non-self, and how it relates to self-identity and growth. You're not going to want to miss that episode. If you found this episode helpful, as always, make sure to subscribe and share it with someone who you feel could maybe benefit from a little bit more peace and emotional resilience in their lives. And remember that change happens one small intentional step at a time. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks for joining me for this week's episode of 20-Minute Self-Development. If today's insights were helpful, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, where I'll share another practical tool or technique for your personal growth journey. If you're looking for more personalized support, my self-development coaching offers a space to explore these tools at a deeper level and tailors them to your unique needs. You can also visit the Tam Dillon Academy for all my courses and upcoming programs to also help you along your self-development journey. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, and remember, growth happens one small intentional step at a time.